right, everybody, it's Kamper here again, and it is time for part 2 of my Q&A. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? All right, this question is by Stan the Man. And Stan the Man, as you know, was a wonderful trail angel and friend on the trail this year. I can't say enough good things about Stan the Man. I mean, he helped us in more ways than you can imagine. But great question, Stan. So I'm going to rate every state from the toughest to the easiest. That's what he wants me to do. So all 14 states. So let's go here. Number 1, the toughest, Maine, especially southern and central Maine, from Goose Eye Mountain all the way through the Avery Peaks in the Bigelows. Incredibly difficult. Number 2, New Hampshire, from the climb up Mount Moosilauke to the New Hampshire-Maine border, all hard, but beautiful. Number 3, Virginia. It's not flat. Don't believe the hype, okay? You hear all these people say, Virginia is flat. Virginia is hard, okay? It's over 500 miles. It's physically and mentally difficult. Especially southern and central Virginia, hard. Very, very difficult climbs. From White Top Mountain, I would say, to the Jenkins Shelter. So basically from mile mark 491 to 580, just tough. And then from the Wappet Shelter at about 620 miles to Waynesboro. I mean, difficult. Lots of just long climbs. So yep, it is not flat. The 4th most difficult would be Vermont. It's a northern version of Georgia, but much longer and tougher climbs. My single toughest day, again, was in Vermont of my entire thru-hike, so that'll tell you something. So that's one of the reasons why it's ranked number 4 for me. The 5th toughest state was Georgia. This is because it's a roller coaster, okay? You every single day are going up 3,000-4,000 footers every day. It's also in the beginning of your hike, so you're not in hiking shape yet. You don't have your trail legs yet. So Georgia was my 5th toughest state. Number 6, North Carolina. Huge climbs, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 footers. The climb out of the NOC, the climb from the hike, the section from Winding Stair Gap to the NOC, and then from the NOC all the way to the Chiowa Bald. Whew, tough. Number 7, Tennessee. The trail jumps in and out of Tennessee and North Carolina, so Tennessee has to be number 7 right after North Carolina. Number 8, I would say it is Massachusetts. Gorgeous. It's a mostly a short section, but it's tough, rocky, difficult descents. But one of my favorite days, though, Mount Greylock. I loved it. Absolutely love Mount Greylock. That'll be a part of the trail I would absolutely go back numerous times. The 9th toughest state is Pennsylvania. I really, really enjoyed Pennsylvania. I loved it. But I would say it was tough because it was so dry, such long distance between water sources. And the rocks really didn't get sharp until about the last 35, 40 miles. Number 10, New York. It's not incredibly difficult, but it is very dry. It's only about 88 miles, and I loved Bear Mountain, but yeah, it was still tough. Number 11 would be New Jersey. Same reason as New York. Not that short. It's like 75 miles. Pretty dry. Yeah. So number 11 would be New Jersey. Number 12, most difficult, would be Connecticut. It's a mini roller coaster. They're only like 1,000 footers, but they're straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. And it really got kind of mentally taxing. Number 13 would be Maryland. It's really, really rocky, big boulders, but it's a short section. It's only like 41 miles. Then the least most difficult state was West Virginia. I mean, it's only like 4 miles. So it really doesn't matter. It's 4 miles, so it was the easiest of all. All right, next question. Ticks. What can you tell me about it? This is by David Chittister. I only had one tick that I found on me, and that was in the Shenandoahs. And that was really my fault. I was walking around barefoot around the shelter looking for twigs for our campfire. So yeah, tick got on my foot, but I never had any other issues with them. Treat your clothes with Permethrin. All right, next question. Let's see, what socks by Douglas K. Yeah, I talked about this. Darn Tough, 2 pair, last me the whole through hike, and 1 pair of waterproof sealskin socks. All right, let's see here. I can't remember who asked me this question, but how did I get so much time off to through hike? What kind of job do I have? Well, I'm retired. I worked for nearly 30 years as working for the Michigan Department of Corrections. I worked as a correction officer and also a food supervisor. So being retired, I only just had a part-time job once I retired, and I work for a local funeral home called Zagman's Memorial Chapel. Just wonderful people, family-owned business. So being it's a part-time job there, I can easily, take the time off to do that. All right, next. Anything that I got tired of? No, I'm sorry. This is by Jinx. Did I ever get tired of French burnt peanuts? No. Loved French burnt peanuts. Problem is, I could hardly never find them. Around Michigan, every gas station you go in, they've got French burnt peanuts. They're the red candy-coated peanut cluster type little candies. I love them because they wouldn't get smushy, and they would be a sweet and a salty snack. All right. Why did you through hike the AT? And when did you first think about through hiking the AT? And this question is by both Bill Thompson and Keith Kamper. It had been a dream of mine since about 2009. I wanted to go on a big bucket list hike adventure after I retired from the Department of Corrections. And this really worked well with my plan to raise money and awareness for the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. So, those two things, when I finally retired and wanting to raise money and awareness for my charity, that's when I knew that the AT was going to be it. All right, did I meet or come across any diabetics on the trail? This question is by Paul Wallen. No, I didn't. I'm sure there was, but I did not come across any diabetics on the trail. Did my through hike last longer than expected, minus your COVID break? And was my return harder or easier than expected? And this is from my buddy Paxalot. No, it didn't last any longer than I expected. I expected a 6-month hike, and I did it in 171 days. Was my return harder or easier? It was easier. The only hard part is when you get home and you're around your family, you kind of get comfortable with them and kind of in that groove with them, but you're still sort of missing the trail because you've got to finish something that you started. But when I got back on trail, being with my family, starting right off the bat with Chit Chat and Dinner Bell was a huge uplift for me. So that made it a lot easier. All right, next question. What was harder, physically or mentally, when you're through hiking the Appalachian Trail? And how did I deal with it? Great question by Dennis Chase, aka Pickleball. I'd have to give an edge to the mental aspect over the physical aspect, but it's a close race there. I started the trail very mentally strong. I was prepared. I knew I had good gear. I knew I had tough challenges ahead, so I was prepared for that. So I wasn't going to be surprised by anything. But on the real tough days, I would just take breaks and I would think things through. Sometimes just taking a nice break and, just thinking to yourself, toughen up, it's going to get better. The next bend, you're going to see something that's going to just blow you away and change everything. So just keep going. That was tough. Also, knowing that there is this huge prize, at the end of your hike, Mount Katahdin, and that sign, that's a way to fight through any type of mental, issues right there, is knowing that, you're going to finish what you started, and man, is it going to be worth it. Physically, I really never had any physical ailments. I mean, I'm so lucky. All right, gear changes, luxury items. This is by STL Tony. Obviously I changed my tent. I also changed my packs. I switched packs and then I went back to my original pack. I sent home my muscle roller at Neil's Gap. Didn't need that because I could just use my trekking poles. A lot of my stuff sacks I realized I didn't need. When you first start, you're thinking you're going to need to organize everything. Let me tell you what, Ziploc bags, folks. Ziploc bags. You don't need all these stuff sacks. Let's see. Oh, you know what I did also switch is when I went back to the trail, I started back up after the COVID restrictions on May 1st. I didn't use my 0-degree bag, although I could have just kept it. I probably should have. But I just used a 50-degree quilt, and it worked fine because I did have my sleeping bag liner still. So I did save about a pound weight right there for several months. But luxury items, I really didn't have any luxury items to start with. I kind of had to whittle a lot of that down. All right, the next question. Will you get back with your Tramley again? This is by Wanda Willoughby. Absolutely. Hopefully in 2021, if there is going to be a trail days, which is kind of up in the air there in Damascus, we all kind of plan on hopefully meeting at trail days. That'd be kind of nice. That'd be great if my wife could also go. But we're going to be traveling forever. There are going to be times where we're going to meet up and visit each other's homes. So absolutely. My biggest mileage day, and how many times did I cowboy camp? This is by Molly SS. My biggest mileage day was right near the end. I did a 25.5 mile day from the Antlers campsite to the Rainbow Springs campsite. So that was my last full day in the 100-mile wilderness. I only cowboy camped just the one time. I wish I would have done it more, actually. It was so fun. And our only cowboy campsite was in Middle Carter Mountain in New Hampshire. And that was me, Chit Chat, and Dinner Bell. And I'm going to insert the little pics from that, or a little video clip from that. All right, my next question comes from Joe Bradley. Are you an Ohio State fan? Can you see this maize and blue here? U of M? Joe Bradley, I know you're joking with me on this, but no, go blue. Next question is, how do you get back to town after your hike up to Mount Katahdin? Well, after registering at the a ranger station inside Baxter State Park near the Katahdin Springs Campgrounds, you can actually get back by just retracing your steps from Katahdin Springs to Katahdin, and then just have a ride there meet you. You can either have a shuttle, prearranged shuttle, or a family or a friend or whatever meet you there. We did not want to go back down the same way. We went down the Saddle Trail. So just past Katahdin, you'll see a sign for the Saddle Trail. We took the Saddle Trail down to the Roaring Brook Campground. And you can also have, prearranged shuttle drivers pick you up there. We had our trail angel, Aaron, pick us up at the Roaring Brook Campground. Did I ever think about shaving the beard or at least trimming it on the trail? Nah, I was going for the whole look. Any hostels to avoid? Yes. Avoid Four Pines. Four Pines Hostel. Do not go there. It is dirty. It's filthy. There is a layer of grime everywhere, okay? And bed bugs, okay? Stay away from Four Pines Hostel. Four Pines Hostel is right after, if you're Nobo, it's right after Dragon's Tooth. So you've just finished Dragon's Tooth, and it's kind of between the Triple Crown. So the next day outside of Four Pines, you are going to do McAfee Knobs and Tinker Cliffs, okay? But then the next day after that is Daleville. My suggestion to you is push it to Daleville. Do not stay at Four Pines. All right. Did I ever sleep with my food or eat in my tent? All right. This is from 100 Miles a Year. I'd never slept with my food, ever. But yes, occasionally I would cook outside of my tent underneath my rain fly, and I would eat in my tent if it was cold and rainy. So yeah, I would eat in my tent, but I would make sure everything was cleaned up, but never slept with food. All right. Did I get bored of my food choices on trail? This is by Beth Neal. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would say from day one to about Glasgow, Virginia, I kept switching. I was trying to find something that I would like, something that I wouldn't like, because dinner is one of the things that you really think about a lot. Like, oh, what am I have for dinner? Because you're done with the day and you're kind of around camp and you're having fun with people and you're talking and joking and everybody's making dinner, so you want to have something that you like. It took me that long from Georgia to Glasgow, Virginia before I finally got my whole meal system down. Did my mindset change near the end, and was I ready for it to end? And would I vlog again? And this is by Beth Neal. No, my mindset was the same from Springer Mountain to Katahdin. At the end, I was excited for Katahdin, but I didn't want it to end because, I loved it. Would I vlog again? Oh, yeah. I so enjoyed it, and I just enjoyed communicating with all of you. All right, umbrella, good or bad? 100%, I would recommend an umbrella, an ultralight hiking umbrella. I use one by Z-Packs, but you can get it from Gossamer Gear and other companies. What an umbrella does is it just makes your day more comfortable. You're still going to get a little bit wet, but you're going to keep the water off your face, and you're going to keep the water from going down the back of your neck, and it's just a way to be a little more comfortable. It is kind of difficult early. I would say in North Carolina and Tennessee, when you're up on the tops of these mountains with all the rhododendron and the green tunnel, it's kind of low over the trail, and so your umbrella keeps getting hit on all of these little branches. Other than that, I loved it. Loved my umbrella. All right. Let's see. Next question. Best advice for the 2021 hikers coming up. This is from Project YOLO. I would say be prepared for COVID restrictions to return. 2021 is going to be very similar to 2020, except you're not going to have that initial fear factor, okay, like we had from like mid-March to the end of March. Everybody thought us through hikers were going to be zombies and just, the Walking Dead, basically, infecting everybody. And it just never happened, obviously, like that. But you're still going to have 2021 people. Understand this. The ATC is not going to recognize you. Okay? The ATC has put out these emails saying, oh yeah, we want you to register. Okay, that's not them giving you their blessing. Okay? They only want to know your phone number and they want to know your email so they can send you notifications of various things. Number one. Number two, it's a way for you to kind of go on their website and see how many other people have already registered their hikes for the same day that you're thinking about. So you can try to limit the amount of people that you're going to be around. And that's a good thing. But understand this, the ATC is not going to recognize your hike, most likely. They're not going to acknowledge you. They're also not going to most likely give you a tag, those famous tags. They stopped giving them out at the end of March last year. So everybody that started after that, they got no tag. So be prepared for that. But you're still going to have the same type of restrictions. So make sure you have your buff to pull over your face every time you're in town or every time you're in close quarters with people, man. Have it ready and ready to go. Yeah, so that would be, I would say. And then my other advice, I would say, take care of your feet. Okay? Take care of your feet. I know the herd mentality out there is to wear these trail runners, to wear these, the Lone Peaks. My suggestion to you is wear what you want to wear. Don't wear something because you're seeing all these Facebook groups talking about, oh, you got to wear this, or you see a YouTube channel saying, oh, you got to wear this. Wear what you want to wear, okay? It's your through hike. It's not the herd's through hike, okay? I was the exception and not the rule, okay? I wore hiking boots, and I'm so glad I did because my feet look exactly the same after my hike as they did before I started. So remember that. What was my best trail meal? This is by Evan Brown. He said, was it Oso's tenderloin? Yes. It was Oso's tenderloin. It was that good. Having a slow-cooked, seasoned pork tenderloin over a campfire. Oh, it was so good. A close second was Oso's cowboy coffee. That good. All right, what was your average pack weight? This is by Ron Cowart. I would say with all of my gear on my back, including 5 days worth of food and 2 liters of water, I was at around 35 pounds. All right, next question is, what percentage of hikers were wearing masks on the trail? And what percentage were wearing masks in towns and hostels? I would say, this is by Paxalot. Nobody hikes with a mask on. If you're hiking, you're carrying 30 pounds in your back and you're huffing up a mountain and you have a mask on, why? You're out in the open. You have nobody around you. What are you doing? But we all wore buffs, okay? So whenever somebody would come towards us and it looked like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to be able to keep my social distance from them, I would just pull my buff up. No problem. A lot of us did that. I couldn't tell you percentages. But when we were in town, 100% of us, through hikers that I was around, all followed the rules. We would wear our buffs or a mask in stores, restaurants, any indoor settings. If we were close to somebody outdoors, we'd pull them up. We wanted to be safe. We wanted to keep people safe. And we wanted a good image for hikers, especially during this year. Hostels, we followed the rules of the hostels. Depending on the rules of the hostels and how tight quarters they were, we would just make decisions based upon that. So I really couldn't give you a percentage. But no through hiker was out there just hiking with a mask on. They would put a mask on if they needed to. Let's see. What was your top 5 views? This is by Rick Carney and Julie Bandine. All right, in no particular order, second peak of Bemis Mountain in Maine. So that was the second peak of Bemis Mountain. Number 2 would be the Gateway on my way up to Katahdin in Maine. Number 3 here, north-south Kinsman Mountain. 4, Klingsman Dome in Virginia. In North Carolina, I should say. And number 5, Rocky Mountain in Georgia. Beautiful. All right, next up is, ever consider buying a home in Maine? This is by my sister Shelly Jones. Oh, I would love to. Are you kidding me? I love Maine. It was my favorite state. Maybe someday. It's hard to tell, but yeah, I love Maine. Did your thru-hike live up to your expectations? This is by M. Kiefer. Absolutely, it did. It lived up to everything. I sure wish that COVID would never have happened. And I would have been able to experience more stuff in these trail towns. I had kind of planned on doing like a 0 to see Gettysburg, a 0 in Washington, D.C., and New York City, but obviously none of that could happen. So, all right, next question. Any boaters did you see on the lakes and ponds? This is from Rosemary McLeod. On Watauga Lake in Tennessee, I saw some boaters, and then not again until around Rangeley, Maine. How did Mrs. Kamper feel and manage at home throughout your thru-hike? By S. Meisner. I kind of touched on this. Mary was very supportive of my thru-hike, and she did a great job managing the house, especially during everything that was happening in our world. Yeah, she did a wonderful job. Love her to death. All right, next question is, thoughts on being an over 50 thru-hiker? This is by Gretchen Pierce. Unless you are like a mini marathoner and you're already in shape, like Be Still on the Trail. Okay, this guy is incredible. But unless you are like Be Still on the Trail, PTL is just nothing but muscle and legs, and he started the trail already ready to do 20 miles. But he is definitely the exception and not the rule. Then if you're not that, go low and slow. Low miles at a slow pace. So anybody, 50, 60, 70, they can totally be an Appalachian Trail thru-hiker. Let's see here. Next question. What was the best part of Maine? This is by Michael Butler, the 100-mile wilderness. Obviously, the summit of Mount Katahdin was monumental, but I so absolutely loved the 100-mile wilderness. And one of my followers, Gary McGee, really said it best. He said, Maine is like a Thomas Kincaid painting. And he's so right. The entire state is like that. How much should a future AT thru-hiker save before their thru-hike? This is from Marilyn Monroe, Robert Burkhart, and John Greider, and Randy Young. Kind of all asked the same type of question here. I would say minus your gear, you want to figure around $2.25 to $2.50 per mile is what you're going to spend. And that will be on food, lodging, shuttles, and replacing your gear, replacing gear that breaks down. So about $2.25 to $2.50 a mile. What was your favorite section? This is by Randy Young. I love the White Mountains. I really, really did. I mean, I loved Maine, but section, I would say the Whites. Loved it. What would you do different? This is by Crystal Elkins. I wouldn't do a thing different. Nothing. Everything that I did, decisions that I made were meant to be. I would do everything the same. And the gear that I finished with, I would start with. Next question is by Lisa Stapleton. Is a flip-flop a thru-hike? Absolutely it is. This year was the biggest year for thru-hikes because of the COVID-19 restrictions. So many people delayed their start, so then they had to do a flip-flop. But yeah, it is. As long as you finish it in 1 year, it's a thru-hike. All right. How do you figure how much food that you're going to take? And this is by Marilyn Monroe. When we were in town, we would look at the AWOL guide and on gut hooks, and we would see how far we were to the next resupply town and how many miles that was, how difficult the terrain was, so how many days it was going to take us to get there. And then that's how many days we would buy food for. And I rarely went more than 4 to 5 days. So number one, I didn't like to carry that much food. And number two, I like to get into town every 4 to 5 days to shower and, sleep in a real bed. So, all right, guys, that's going to be the end of video number 2 of my Q&A. And the final video is coming up. It's going to be part 3. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys down trail.